welcome to day 9. We did it. You know, we battled through COVID, we battled through Christmas, we battled all sorts of things, and we made
been
it.
a battle.
Yeah, but we've covered a lot of great things, and we've talked to a lot of great people.
Yeah.
So, and here we are on the 9th pillar.
9 pillars, man.
We did it.
All
9th
right.
pillar.
Welcome to the 9th pillar of dental marketing.
Oh, did you hear that?
Oh, you missed it.
I missed it.
Try it again.
Yeah, hold on.
dental
Hang
marketing.
on. I'll cue you up. I need him to be louder. All right.
Turn him up.
Because it's super important here. All right.
This is for you, Theresa.
Okay, here we go.
Welcome to the 9th pillar of dental marketing. Oh, yeah.
There we go. That's better.
Put it in the chat. Who is that? Does anyone know who that is?
Oh, come on. If you don't know that.
Well, I mean, I'm a little bit older than most.
You are.
I know who he is, and I watched him every Saturday. But did you watch him every Saturday?
Hey, Theresa. How's it going?
Hi, Theresa.
Hi.
Do you know who that sound effect is?
I can't say that I don't know who that sound effect is, but mostly because I didn't really hear it. It was kind of a little garbling on my end, but I'm sure I would recognize it if you told me the name of it.
Let's try it again. And this is terrible. Like we're, throwing her under the bus right away.
Oh, yeah. Well, it could be one of two people, actually, because two people actually say that slogan.
I have no idea.
Okay. It's in the wrestling world. You might not know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to give it away.
Is it like something McMahon or Vince McMahon or
close
something
enough.
or
Close
like
enough.
The Rock?
We want to see if
Or
people
like
can
those
guess
are,
it.
and like Stone Cold, Steve Austin, The
A little
Undertaker,
before
those
that
are the-
time.
like, those are the only people that I know.
Totally.
A little pre-Stone Cold, I think. But didn't the Kool-Aid Man make that noise too? Oh yeah!
And when he blew through the wall, yeah, totally.
And I remember he in that one scene in the show. Was it Robot Chicken where he breaks through the wall? He goes, "Oh yeah!" He's like, obviously comes across like a crime scene, and he's like, "Oh no!" And he backs out of the wall.
That's Family Guy, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, it was Family Guy.
Yeah.
I think. I'm thinking Robot Chicken.
Anyways, let's get to it here, Tyler. We have
on it.
a limited amount of time. I should have put a timer up today because
No, we're good.
we're good.
We'll get to it. The 9 pillars today: patient intake, case acceptance, and recall.
Ooh.
Because as Mark put it so eloquently a minute ago, the patient is now in the practice. We now need to make sure they're handled with a nice, easy, comfortable workflow.
And now that we've got them coming to the practice, we also want to keep them coming to the practice because we've spent money with marketing to get them to come. So it's way more expensive to bring a new patient in by means of marketing. It costs less to bring that patient back now. So there's tools at our disposal to ensure that happens. And a lot of that is knowing the metrics of your practice too. Do you know how many active patients you have? An active patient is a lot different than a patient of the practice, right? What is your standard of care? There's dollars sitting on the table that exist within your patient base already.
So starting with patient intake, Theresa, I'm just going to throw it out there to you. Is there a best practice for intaking the patient and making them a patient of record?
I think there is a huge best practice for this, and being polite is probably the number one way to get them into practice.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways that patients come into a practice. It could be like online servicing, like marketing, or you have a service that will bring the patient to you. There's also like inpatient referral, so like a patient that's already in the clinic that's being now brought to you. And then there's obviously just like the cold calls, finding us on a website or social media. But getting those patients into the chair really starts with very good customer service. We want to make sure that those patients are being treated very, very well, and that are having the clinic expectation explained to them when they're being called. And so, cancellation policies and those kinds of things, so that there's no surprises, like what paperwork's going to be done and how to efficiently deal with that. at the clinic. And I like to put someone that's in charge of new patients in the front end. It doesn't mean they had to take all the new patient calls, but I like to have someone that's in charge of them. So making sure that everything goes really smoothly with those new patients, because we all know that new patients, breathe life into the practice. You're going to have some attrition for just people moving or dying or like that kind of stuff. So some natural attrition will occur, and that's to be expected. But if we can have more new patients coming in, then your patient base is now growing, which is really good. So keeping the new patients happy in the clinic and the practice is really essential part of growing your practice, because clinics are evaluated by their goodwill, and that's their active patient base versus, like you said, their entire patient base. Because I've worked in clinics that have 20,000 patients, but only 6,000 active patients, because they've seen 20,000 in the last 20 years that clinic's been going, but that doesn't mean that that's how many patients there are.
Right. So, you talked about, we talked about that before we got started here, as attrition. So that's a kind of a moving target. It's very difficult to determine what your attrition rate means, or what it is. Is it 10% or whatever that might be? There's tools that you can use in the dental market to sort of narrow that number down to a region of numbers, right? So knowing how many patients are falling off the back end versus, bringing new patients in, that's how you determine your growth, right? And seeing that's, a lot of work to do. But what I'm getting at is what tools are you seeing being used with success at the front end in terms of software? And then, let's talk next about sort of a procedural piece, like digital forms. Are you seeing those being used with success?
So software, I think we're talking about what is being used to keep the patient in the practice. Is that what you mean?
Well, in terms of intake, let's talk about that. Is there software out there? I know we have some of our own.
Maybe that streamlines the process.
That streamlines the process. So you got this digital form that's being filled out, and it's going directly into the practice management software.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different programs that do that that I've seen in my experience that will dump the information in. You can have it set up through, it just depends on your practice management software and what it allows. Mm-hmm. So you know what, I'm really excited about the technology that's coming. Mm-hmm. There's definitely some gaps there that still need to be improved upon for it to be very, very efficient into doing it. And there is always going to be, I think, for the next 5 years or so, definitely more hand holding on new patients just verbally, either over the phone or Zoom. I guess there's lots of things that do like Zoom meetings now for dental for that first visit, but those kind of more hand holding, because I think just the technology is a little bit faster than the people are ready to make that first step. People still want that personal connection of picking up their phone and calling their dentist, which is a weird thing, but it's just,
I don't think that will ever, that personal touch, I don't think it will ever go away. And you talked about that too. It's not, the tool is as good as whoever's using it, right? So it's having somebody dedicated to bringing that patient into the practice, I think, and their responsibility.
Yeah, and really owning that process, like you say, Theresa, and not making them 100% responsible for it, but at least owning part of the process, so that, hey, you know what, this is kind of cool. This is what we're building. This is the team that's building it. And just driving it forward.
Yeah, so I started this experiment with that new patient coordinator. Basically, they're a receptionist, general receptionist, but then they're in charge of this new patient coordinator, and I just try this experiment, and it's working out super well.
It's a great idea.
I'm super happy with how things are moving with it. And this person is just making sure that every new patient has a good experience. They do the aftercare calls. They make sure that they get booked back into the clinic. They make sure that they go back for their treatment. If they don't understand their treatment, that they deal with the treatment coordinator, but they'll follow up like, hey, I booked your new patient appointment. I want to make sure that, you understand, and I'm going to put you in contact with a treatment coordinator if you have some issues. Like, they're the ones that make sure that that new patient stays. And that's kind of like something that I'm just starting to unlock the potential of right now, but I'm very excited about.
That's huge. That's awesome, because that fits into our system beautifully, actually.
Absolutely.
Because you're right, like getting that new person to come through the door, they have to have that white glove service, right? Like that will increase the possibility that A, they'll come back, and B, that they're going to bring their family, and C, that they're going to refer, to their friends and say, hey, I had a pretty decent experience at this new dental practice I went to.
Mm-hmm. And I like to, sorry, Theresa, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
I was going to say, we know that it's not, most people won't leave their practice once they're at a practice. It takes a lot for someone to leave their practice, because most people don't even realize when they're getting bad dentistry. They only know how they felt when they were at the clinic. And if they feel good, they're going to stay there. Even if they are getting the worst dentistry in the world, they still feel like they're being treated well, they'll stay at that clinic. So this is kind of a big deal that you can use. That's the psychology of dental at this point. To use that as far as not to do bad dentistry, obviously, but to do great dentistry. But then in addition to this, add that kind of next step that allows your patients to feel like cared for and taken care of. And then all of a sudden they don't want to leave because I got treated very well.
And which brings us to our next point is case acceptance. Now we've got the patient, we've treated them like they're, the Queen of England, into their practice, red carpet, white gloves.
I want to get treated that way.
Yeah, I would go back, right? Now they're in the chair, and now, like, what are we doing now for case acceptance? How are we getting them to go along with our treatment plan? How are we getting them to come back for their 6-month hygiene appointment? What questions are we asking? What documentation are we keeping? How are we making them go along with what we feel that is important to our standard of care?
Yeah, so it's good to have an operations guide, I guess, if you will, or an idea of what you want in your practice. And if you haven't thought this out yet, it's really important just to write it down. This is exactly how I want a patient to move through our practice. This is exactly how I want them to be treated. When I first took over a clinic, when I had made my transition out of corporate dentistry into corporate dentistry, I took over a clinic that did not have an operational overview. It was just kind of like, this dentist did this and this dentist did this. But I wanted everyone, no matter what dentist they were seeing, was being treated the exact same way from start to finish, and rebranding that practice as, this is what we do here and this is how we treat them. Doesn't matter who you are, which dentist you see, which hygienist you see. This is the standard of practice at this clinic now. And so I wrote out an entire operational overview of exactly what I wanted to see happen. And like, when they got the phone call, and I went it over, we had a staff meeting. It was 2 hours long, and we walked through the entire practice. This is what happens in the hygiene chair. This is what happens in the dental chair. This is what happens in treatment planning. And this is what happens when, paperwork comes through the clinic, and how we process it, and where it's going to go, on which screen it's going to show up in the dental chair so that the dentist can look at it. All of these things, where it got scanned into. And I literally wrote it all out, and that became the standard of practice.
Right.
And so it was very consistent, and everyone knew what they were supposed to be doing, which took the stress out of working there, which
there was no guesswork.
Our employees were happier. When they were happier, they did more because they weren't stressed out and frustrated. And we were able to then kind of execute a better patient care program, which then built the practice, because every patient was being treated the same and well.
Yeah, so, and consistent, right? They always got the same experience when they came back, which is important too. So you can, if somebody expects to get the same treatment every time they're there, they will tend to trust whatever business that might be more, right?
Well, and in corporate dentistry, you see there's a lot of associates that come through the practice. And so we had to be very consistent because we had different dentists a lot.
Right.
And so, like not every dentist stays at that practice. A lot of junior dentists will come in and they'll work for 3 or 4 years and then they'll leave because then they either buy their own practice or they're looking for a different experience, or maybe they go back to school. And so we had to be very consistent. So it didn't matter which dentist you seen, the expectation was the same. So it was more the clinic that added that what they were coming to, not the dentist that they were seeing. So I was trying to change the narrative to this is the practice. It doesn't matter what dentist, because we only hire the best dentists, but you're going to come to this practice and you're going to get treated really well. And we're going to make sure your insurance is taken care of. And we're going to make sure you know the balance before you leave the clinic. And we're going to make sure that all this stuff is done for you.
Yeah. And that's great. So I hear a common theme coming from you. It's who's responsible for what, and then having a defined procedure of things in that practice.
Yeah,
I would agree with
it's
that.
100% accountability.
Accountability.
When someone new comes to the practice, Theresa, now are they given like an orientation, or are they like, what's the typical? How would you sort of bring that new dentist or hygienist or RDA into the practice? Do they get sort of like a grace period where they're on sort of a trial, or where they're doing like an orientation period, or like how does that part of the process look?
If it's a new team member, everyone's basically trained the same. So then they would just buddy with someone for the first couple shifts, and then they would start to venture out on their own. But most RDAs generally don't work by themselves. They have another person that they work with on a team with another dentist. So there's usually 2 RDAs and 1 dentist. So then in that case, the other one would just lead them and be like, okay, you're doing this, this, and this today, until they felt they were comfortable to take over different areas. If it was reception, same idea. We just don't leave them alone for the first little week and a bit to make sure that they understand what goes on, how to do things. We spend time training them to make sure that they're up on all of the protocols. And then for dentists, when they come in, usually the RDAs will then train the dentists on how things go. And then if there's multiple dentists in the clinic, they'll obviously lean on the other dentists as well. But so everyone as a team supports each other. Oh, this is a new person. We're going to walk this person through. Generally, a very good office manager will have assumed a few things about that dentist. They're newer, maybe what I like to call a baby dentist, which is just like fresh out of school. So a newer dentist is going to come into this and be like, oh, well, I'm not going to book them like a 5-year dentist or a veteran dentist, because that would be dumb, because they're not going to be able to keep up. They don't know how to ask for things or demand things like other dentists will. So, you make some certain assumptions about making sure it's a smooth transition, and a good office manager will know how to do that. And that's what we do, is train good office managers. So you kind of make those assumptions.
And cool. You can't do any of that stuff if there isn't a base of procedure put in place, right?
It's got to start somewhere.
That's
and
right.
Accountability also comes down to that. When they're able to understand the procedure and protocol, then everyone's accountable to that expectation, which then everyone has their part to play within that. Like reception's in charge of making sure that all of this data is entered before the patient gets into the chair. RDAs are, making sure and double checking consent forms, and all the information that they need is there before they start the procedure. The dentists then come in and analyze the information and then make diagnosis, and then it goes to a treatment coordinator, and then it goes out the door with, all the information the patient's there, and we have them booked back in for whatever appointments are next.
Perfect. You segued right into, what I'd like to get into next here is patient's been through procedure, now how do we have the conversation with the patient about a particular procedure that needs to be done properly, so the chances of them coming back to get said procedure are higher? How do we go about doing that?
So it's a larger case, harder sell.
Yeah, let's talk in terms of how would we talk to somebody about doing a full comprehensive,
Or maybe if you just sense that the patient is going to be, like, if you have a sense that the patient is going to be hesitant, maybe.
Well, it could be anything. Okay, it could be anything. We want that patient to now come back for what we talked about, whether it's something that's critical, caries or whatever, or if it's something more cosmetic. How do we get them? How do we talk about, with that patient, like what steps they need to go through? Who's the best person to talk to them? How does that flow look?
So generally it will go through a treatment coordinator, or someone that's in charge or accountable for the treatment side of the practice and reception. What I like to see happen is a record of what's going in and out. I make spreadsheet. If you have a spreadsheet, if your practice management software has an accountability for a treatment manager, or some sort of list there where you're tracking what's coming in and coming out, because then you can obviously follow up on things that go out the door that don't get booked. Some people are going to need to make decisions that are not in front of you, and that is like financial stuff. Sometimes you don't have all the information to make those decisions either, and you don't want to rush through making decisions with someone and then have them not being able to pay, which is also an issue sometimes. So the highest success rate is making sure you have all of the information to have the conversation. So if you have the information to have the conversation, then go ahead and have the conversation and talk to the patient about what needs to be completed, or what is necessary in the dental, or what is their idea of what is necessary, because some people put a lot of value on different things than others. So finding the pain point, what's going on in their mouth, what they want to do. And that generally is done in the clinician's chair, but that doesn't mean it always is. Some clinicians aren't very good at expressing themselves. They just say, hey, like, you need this crown done, or you're really in need of an implant. And then they go, okay, just talk to the front end. They'll deal with you. They'll deal with all the financials on the end. And that's okay too. But if you're that type of dentist, you need to have an amazing treatment coordinator.
Yes.
So they go hand in hand. If you're having very low success rate and turnaround because of your delivery as a clinician, then you need to have a better treatment coordinator so that they can make up the difference. And if you're very good at explaining as a clinician and basically sell the treatment in the chair, then you just need someone to book the treatment and make sure that the insurance is sent off, and is really good on following up with the patient. But all in all, it's following up with the patient, making sure you have the information and following up, because 90% of the issues that are coming out of the dental chair right now is that they're not being followed up on, and people just forget about them and then they don't book. So I'm always book first, book 3 weeks or a month away. So get that patient booked in the chair no matter what. I'm going to book you out 3 or 4 weeks in advance. That gives us time to get all the information that we need. If anything comes back interesting or different than what we assume is going to happen with your insurance, then we're going to follow up with you. If you get information, then you follow up with us, because we know with privacy right now, insurance goes both directions, but it might not come to us. It might just go to the patient, and that's okay. But then if you don't have them booked in the schedule, then there's no way they're going to call you. But if they'll call to cancel, they will call to cancel that appointment. So if they're booked in the schedule, they're going to come back with answers, or they're going to call back to cancel that appointment. So that gives you time then to be like, oh, okay, we want to cancel. Okay, let's move it out another 2 weeks. And while you're doing that, hey, while you're on the phone, can you just go check your insurance while you're here, and we'll just work through it, and just email it to me right now, and I'll get some information back to you about what's going on.
And I think you bring up a good point, Theresa, is, booking them. Absolutely. Is booking them. But, and this is something that I learned a long, long time ago, is that booking them, you're really asking for the job at that point, right? You're saying, I've given you all the information you need. Do you have any questions? No. Okay, great. Can we book you in for this? Right. And I've seen it before. And it's just human nature it's sometimes that's a hard question to ask, right? It's like, it's like in sales, you're asking for, hey, I've given you all the information. You have everything you need. Can I do the job for you? Right. And it's that, like, it's booking the patient in and asking. Sometimes you got to ask the difficult questions, even though you feel that the patient's going to be like, they're going to be, the tendency is to just kind of float it out there like, hey, here's what it's going to cost. And you think about it. Right. I'm just saying, I'm a hardliner in terms of, like, let's ask for the sale.
You are, this is what you do. So ask for it. Yes.
But this is great, because this is what front end administrators don't do, because they grew up in dental, and dental was different.
Right.
Now it's not. Now it's sales. And I'll say this 1,000 times. I don't I don't care if I get flagged or whatever, but working in reception is now sales. You have to be enticing to get that patient in a chair, because I can tell you right now, if someone said, hey, Theresa, you have $25,000 worth of dental work that you need to get done. And I'm thinking right now, I have a booked flight to Hawaii that I'm prioritizing over my dental work. But you're going to have to then sell it to me why I should now not go to Hawaii
Right.
and
Yes.
get my dental work done.
Good luck.
And that's that's it though, right? And if you're not saying you have to be good at your job to do that, but I'm saying that's where we live right now, right? This is a situation we live in. So people are going to spend their money somewhere. So it should be for their oral health. It should be, and using conversations like that, giving them as much information. You know what? Your insurance is going to cover 80% of it. It's just a small amount. It's important that you get this done. Here's why. We want to prevent this from happening in the future. And then getting them in the chair, booking them in, and then, saying, okay, we got to get this done. People will make the money for things that they prioritize, but it takes time, and you have to be able to,
I like that
do that now.
Yeah. That's just like that goes back.
You just got to do it. You just have to do it.
The decades that I've ever had to sell something. It's just make sure, I remember 20 some odd years ago doing college pro painters, which was a great experience for me as a 19-year-old. But I remember my manager always being like, well, okay, your sales ratio is, not as great as you want it to be. Tyler, did you ask for the job? Did you ask for the sale?
Yeah.
And it'd always be like, I kind of wussed out, or I didn't feel like asking that person. And I kind of left it I put it under the door and they said I'd call them. No. Ask for it.
Yeah.
Moving on to reviews.
Yeah. So let's, so I think the best time to ask for a review is, now our treatment, our full cycle is complete. So they got that veneer, or, they got the carie done, or, restored, or they had a great hygiene experience. I think it's the best time to ask for a review. And I'm speaking in terms of Google reviews, because that's a huge piece to this. Critical piece to our nine pillars is our SEO, and reviews account for, I think it's 41 to 49% of SEO depends on regular and good reviews. So asking your patients, also ask for the review as well, and then having the tools in place to do so. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So now, okay, so we've had the conversation with the patient. They've walked out the door. What does recall look like? And part of recall to me is internal marketing. So, we can sort of answer to what sort of marketing is going out to the existing patient base, and a lot of, to determine whether or not internal marketing needs to be done is looking at your numbers. Like, what is your active patients versus, we can run what's called a practice analysis and look at all of these metrics, right? So we can say, all right, well, your adjunctive's down here in this area, so we're going to advertise more ortho or whatever it might be, right? So there's that piece. So now here we go. We got this patient. We've pre-booked them in. They called and canceled. Now what? Right? What do we do?
We have a cancellation.
We've got a cancellation. What do we do now?
So if you're being there's two different ways to deal with this, and I'll tell you both sides. And you're gonna choose which one. Choose which one I always go with, because it just makes sense.
Of course.
So you can be retroactive. That's one version of this, which is you call patients and you just deal with the chaos and you try and get them in as the schedule falls apart, and you're continually just spinning your tires,
the
or like
scramble
a hamster
technique.
wheel. Yeah. And this is, I think 85% of clinics operate this way. I don't know why, but it's just what they do. It's not a problem until it's a problem. That's the motto of that practice management style.
Right.
And so they, constantly are just living this chaos management is what I like to call it. But not ever getting out of it. And so they're just calling patients, or pulling patients up to fill the schedule. And then that bleeds out, and then there's nobody in the schedule, and they're just constantly dealing with that. So there's that version, which if you like to live in chaos management, and all for it. Or there's a version that I like to do, which is proactive. And you are constantly calling your hygiene list. You're overdue. You have Recall Max or Care Crew, or Intivio. There's a variety, and they're all really, really great programs in their own regards.
Absolutely.
They all do different things, but basically you have, is that the timer?
No, that's
That
that's it. You nailed it. So
well
like,
done, recall software people.
Wrap it
Yeah.
up.
We know most of the
you know that
we know
like,
most of them. They're
we
all really
alluded to it before. Like there's tools in the market now to help you out with this part, right?
Yes,
Bingo.
Whatever
you can do that.
whatever
And if
one you're gonna choose one of them, whether it's already baked
learn
into
it.
your. But learn it, yes, and
learn
use it.
This is the problem. It sits in the
Yeah.
clinic, and there's like, oh, well, it automatically texts them.
Well, this
No,
is what we get,
that
right?
does nothing. 5%, 5% of those text messages actually return on investment. 5%.
5%.
So
That's
they're
not very
texting
high.
out
Yeah.
100 texts a week, and
Mhm.
only 5% of them are returning on investment. for
That's
you.
internal
But
marketing right there.
If you call, you physically pick up the phone and call, you have a 60% return on investment.
Are
if
you
you're
serious?
calling.
It's that much different?
That is that much different.
That's
so
amazing.
if you're calling your patient, guess what? Because if I get you on the phone, I can guarantee you I can get you in the
You
clinic.
know, it'd be really interesting. Here, we should run another experiment. We should see what return teledentistry would give at this point.
I think that's a good question, but sorry, Mark, I just want to go back because I didn't want to forget what she was saying about this. So
I know.
I remember working with Recall Max on this, and they would the phoning people was still a critical part of that workflow.
Yeah,
it wasn't
is.
about automating the text. I think is once you make the call, you make the connection, you speak to the person, you get them in. The automation point, I'm not just focusing on Recall Max, I think they all have something somewhat similar to this, is that the automation part of it comes after you get the verbal commitment from the patient.
That's
Am I
right.
right?
Yeah.
The automation, the benefit to Recall Max Care Recruiter is the auto confirmation. It gets you
Right.
off the phone confirming appointments.
Mhm.
But there is like the recall system that will go and remind them, oh, you're 1 month overdue.
Right.
Oh, you're 2 months overdue. Oh, it's been 300 days since you've been into the clinic, and those are the messages that go out, right? That help recall your patients that you may have lost, but only 5% of those patients will come back in. If you call them, you're more likely to get 60% of those patients to get in. So
That's
if
a
you're
big
physically
difference.
calling them,
Huge.
yeah, because someone will commit to a person. I can ignore a text and I can, reroute a call, but eventually I'm going to have to listen to a voicemail. I have one right now. Eventually I'm going to have to listen to a voicemail. Or a personalized text, which my clinic that I go to, they have Recall Max, and they text me personally, hey, because that's what's set up on my account. Don't call me. I will never answer your call. I love you, but don't call me. And so they'll text me, hey, Theresa, next week, you're due for your hygiene. I have this appointment and this appointment available. Just let me know if which one works. And I literally will just be like, option 1, please. And then they'll book me in. And that is how it's set up. And I love it because I'm busy and I'm in clinic all day. Not near my phone. I'm dealing with stuff that's happening. So if you can deal with it that way. And then the recall systems, the software really isn't for you to rely on.
It's put on autopilot.
Utilize.
Yes.
You still have to put the work in.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
I like Recall System Pro because it kind of that Max. Sorry, Josh, Jeff. Sorry.
They changed their name. They're great.
Sorry, guys.
But yeah, like the reason I like that software, I'm pretty familiar with it, is that it puts the tool in the front end's hands, but they really have to drive that tool. They have to pick up the phone. It gives them.
Yeah, they're actually coming out with something super fantastic. Sorry to cut you off, but they're coming out with super fantastic is they're putting like a whole system to like teach people how to use the system better, like video training and whatever, because I think it's not utilized well enough.
No.
And I'm super pumped for that because you know how many times I go into a clinic, they're like, well, Recall Max does that. And I'm like, no, it does not. Like your schedule is empty and you're relying on an automated system. Like, do you reply to automated text?
Yeah.
No.
I also gotta wave my flag for Lighthouse 360 too. We can't forget about that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Lighthouse
they're good
360.
too. Yeah.
And like I'll make a point here, and maybe people can relate to this. It's like an intraoral scanner. Okay, so intraoral scanner versus the analog impression. Both are like the intraoral scanner is not a replacement. It's another tool, and the tool will be as good as the user. So learn it. And then if there's somebody in the practice that doesn't know how to use it properly, teach them. Just don't like,
Hey, there's enough downtime right now in people's schedules. And I'm telling you this because I work in multiple clinics and the schedules are falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough downtime right now that you should be training your staff. If you're not doing that right now, like you're paying for them to be there. So train them. You know what? You have 2 hours of unfilled time. Guess what? Your hygienist now is learning how to scan patients because maybe they'll need to do that one day. Your DA is going to learn how to take better impressions or better digital scans.
That's
like they're better x-rays. Like I don't know how many times that I've had where like I work in a referral-based practice as well, where I come in and the x-rays are just garbage.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm not even an RDA and I'm just like, this is like, I have to say, like, you need to pull your patient back in and take a new x-ray because I can't even diagnose off of that missing everything. So yeah, just there's time. Use it right now. Like now's the time to be doing that.
I totally agree.
Reinvesting in your team for sure.
So this is awesome. Like this is what I want to accomplish today.
We never have enough time. We always want to keep going.
We do. But we're
Teresa
gonna.
always gives us so much
Teresa,
information.
this is only the beginning, I think, of our relationship. I can see us having a lot more great conversations in the future. Teresa, what can you sell it? Like, what? Tell us about how you can help in this. Like,
so I've got some of your stuff open.
Yeah.
Like just to sort of, I kind of want to throw some of your courses out there for you. Are you okay with that?
Sure. Yeah. 100%.
Like you've got the Office Management Development course. Office Manager Development course. You've got Dental Business Masterclass. That's 100 hours. That's a comprehensive class.
Yeah. So it's basically for when I go in to do like a basic clinic rehaul and we just go in top to bottom and we go over like all those accountability things. Treatment coordinator, we restructured your job. This is what you're accountable for. And this is how someone's going to manage you now. And we teach an office manager and a dentist to do that, like how to manage it, depending on how big the team is. So that's what that one's about. Office manager development is just all of those things you talked about, like analytics and like business lines, HR issues, how to have leadership conversations, like all of those things. And it's just about helping office managers really utilize, and that's a career now. It never used to be really a career. It was just like someone that elevated into that position, that would sign the check or whatever. Like,
so is there kind of a progression? Is there kind of a progression here? Because I noticed you've also got administrative development here.
So we're just top to bottom, basically. Yeah. So the business masterclass is the whole kit and caboodle. Then the second is office manager development. You just need one spot to take care of, and that person's then going to start to restructure their own clinic for them, and we kind of give them some guidance and education to support them. And then the last one is admin development, which is like one of those classes that we give to your awesome clients. One of those classes is basically goes over communication in the clinic, but it's broken up for just the reception or admin team to kind of learn how to do their clinic, run their clinic a little bit better and what they're in charge of and what they should be accountable for.
And thank you very much for offering that to us and our clients. So don't forget, if you're watching this, if you are a dentist, if you have a clinic and you want the administrative development course, feel free to drop us a line and we'll find out a way for you to get it free of charge.
I know how it is. You got to sign up for Dentist on Demand. Get your darn practice listed on Dentist on Demand, and we'll set you up.
And Marc and Tyler will front the cost on the administrative development course for you.
You're welcome. With this lovely Theresa.
With Theresa, of course.
You bet. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to share with us today? We're going to have you back again.
We're just constantly developing ourselves, so it's really exciting, and we have some really cool things planned for 2022 that are in the make, so I'll keep you guys posted once we get some new exciting courses, and I think we're going to do a summit later this year, so I'm pretty pumped. So cool. Good. It's great information.
Make sure you check her out at Optimized Dental. And there he is again. The Macho Man. Oh, I gave it away. He showed up again. Check out Theresa at optimizeddental.ca. Tons of great information you shared with us today, Theresa. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate working with you guys. If you guys have questions, reach out, and we're happy to help.
You'll be hearing from us.
You will. And I apologize in advance.
Try not to blow your phone up too much.
So if I have marketing stuff, I'll come to you guys.
Please,
so
absolutely. Let's just have 1,000 more conversations.
Keep it going.
Great.
I think it's pretty good.
Awesome.
All right, let's do it. Wrap it up. This is it.
Have a great evening, everyone. That was your 9 pillars of dental marketing. Brought to you by Mr. Mark and his cohort Tyler.
We did all right. I think we did.
Cohort.
Yeah. Anyways.
Is that the right word? Cohort?
Cohort?
We're in a cohort.
We are.
This is our
Our bubble.
And
his bubble mate. Anyways, let's wrap
this got awkward in a hurry.
Yeah. All right.
Have a great evening, everybody. Cheerio.
Goodbye.